Today's daf is daf kufta zayin. We are going to begin on daf kufta zvav Omar Mar. The line starts with in the Tzuras Hadaf on the Mai. Omar Mar. So the master said in the Brisa, Ubishem and Layasu Kain. With regards to oil, you should not do so. Why? If they have said Kain, due to the Kain's loss. Fred, you want to?
What is the situation? Layasu Kain.
Not to use it.
In other words, if you have oil for whatever reason, so you just store it by you don't use it up. Why?
Second, talking about okay, we're going to see. We're going to see. Okay, it says with regards to oil, you should not do so. Why? Because due to the Kain's loss. What is the difference about we say a leaking barrel of Talmudic oil, which one cannot separate as truma, is because he does. So the question is because if he does so, the kohen will suffer a loss. So the Gemara says, "Ma'ishna shemen d'ro lahadik." So that case is different because the Talmudic truma oil is fit to be used to kindle a fire, and the kohen will now not receive that oil. The wine is also fit to be used, as the kohen is able to sprinkle it in order for a pleasant smell. So why is there no concern that the kohen will suffer a hefset? So if the Gemara says, and if you're going to say that the aroma, smell, sprinkling is nothing, it's insignificant, but says one may drink from a leg of wine worth 1 sela, and one may sprinkle from a log of wine worth 2 selas. Which is mashma that there's a greater benefit in sprinkling wine than drinking it. So, where says Hachamay, what are we dealing with over here? With new wine that really didn't develop any of this aroma, and therefore it's not fit for sprinkling. So, where it says but isn't it fit to allow it to age so that it will become fit for sprinkling? So the Gemara responds, if one waits for it to age, he might come to experience a takala with it, and he will forget that it's Talmudic truma, which we know is forbidden to eat. Oil should also be subject to the same thing that come to experience also a takala, as he might forget to be that it's asr and mistakenly drink it. So the Gemara explains the manachli b'kli mois. The kohen, the Gemara says, the halacha is that a kohen must place the oil in a foul vessel. There's no concern that he will consume it, as such oil is used only for kindling. So the Gemara says, let the wine also be placed in a foul vessel, in which case there would be no concern that he would drink it. The Gemara says, now that he desires it for sprinkling, would he place it in a disgusting vessel? It would ruin the smell, so the wine may not be kept due to concern over a takala, while the oil may be kept. Mar says, "V'takala atzma tanoi," and this concern about a takala itself is a machlikas tanoim. The Tanya learned in a brisa, "Chavish yayin shel truma," with regard to a barrel of truma wine that becomes tamei, shenitmis that became tamei. B'shamim, and B'shamim says that is so we know if it's tamei, it's also to eat it. So B'shamim says, what do you do to shafech hakel? The wine has to be poured out in order to prevent takala. And Beisila says, te'asa ziluf. Let the wine be used for sprinkling. He says, Ani achriya, I will decide the halacha by having like a intermediate opinion. Bebayis, if the wine became tummy in the house, te'asa ziluf, it may be used for sprinkling, and it can be used immediately. Ubasada, and if it became tummy in the field, to shafech hakol, he has to pour out everything. Why? Because it's possible that by the time it is brought to the house and used for sprinkling, someone may drink it. Igedamida, those who say that Allah has a biyasham with regards to aged wine, tiyasa ziluf, it has to be used for it may be used for sprinkling, as it is fit for sprinkling immediately. Ubechadash, with regard to new wine, which does not have a pleasant aroma, shafech hakol, it must be poured out in order to prevent a possible takala. Amrulait, it said to Rabbi Shmuel, ein achrosh lishi machras. A decision by a third party doesn't decide the halacha. And the Mishnah taught in Amrulai, the Mishnah says if the owner of the wine said to the owner of the honey, this is the Mishnah we had yesterday if somebody has honey and somebody has wine, and the guy with the wine, his jug cracks, and then the guy with the honey tries to, it says, I'm going to save it. So he says, in Mamrele,
it has a bigger value.
Exactly. Honey has a bigger value. Now, in Mamrele, if the owner of the wine said to the owner of the honey, Atzel eshelcha, I will salvage your honey, and you will pay me the value of my wine. So basically, I have to spill on my wine in order to salvage your honey. So the halacha is the owner of the honey is obligated to pay him compensation for the wine. Why is this tonight? Why is it Mekai? Why is it tonight? When does it take effect? Let him say, I was just playing with you when I accepted your condition, and I did not agree to it at all. Mila Tanya didn't teach in a brayso how to show you berech min beis asurim. In the case where one was fleeing from prison and there was a ferry before him. Person was fleeing from prison and there was a ferry in front of him. Now, if he said to the ferryman, take the entire dinner and take me across the river, the ferryman has the right to collect only the wage, but not the entire dinner. So what do we say? So why? Because the prisoner could have said, I was just fooling you, and I never had in mind to pay this type of money. Here also, like the owner of the honey just say to the owner of the wine, I was just fooling you. Our answer is, this case in the Mishnah is not comparable in the case cited above, rather to in the later clause of the brayso. And if he said to the ferryman, take this dinner as your wage, and take me across the river, the prisoner must give him his wage in the full amount, the entire dinner. So Mar says, but what's the difference in the first clause which says that the ferryman receives only scharoi, and what's the difference in the later case which he receives the full dinner? So the last case is talking about with a trapper who scoops fish from the sea. He's a fisherman. And he can say to the prisoner, Afsidani kaveri bezuzi, you have caused me a loss of fish worth a dinner, which I would have caught had I not taken you across the river. So in the case of the Mishnah, the owner of the wine sustains a huge financial loss in order to save the honey. Therefore, he's entitled to the compensation that the owner of the honey agreed to pay. And then the Mishnah says, if a river washed away his donkey, and the donkey of another man, and his donkey is worth 100 dinars. So the Gemara says it's necessary to teach both the case of the barrel of wine and the honey and the case of the donkey. So if it would only teach the first case, that of wine and honey, so you would say, in the first case, in the case of the wine and the honey, it's only there in that case that when the owner of the wine states his tanai, the owner of the honey gives him the value of the entire loss. Why? Because the wine is lost through the direct action of the owner. But in the case of the donkey, since the donkey is lost by itself of the river, Nema, let us say, the one who
dinner to go run after
the donkey, yeah. So maybe when he salvages the donkey for his friend, he only has the right to only collect the wage, compensation for his work. He actually, in the same if only taught the case of the later clause, he would have said, it is there in the case of the donkey that if the intention was the one who say the donkey was unspecified. In other words, he did not make a tanai that the owner of the other donkey would compensate him for the loss of his own donkey. So then he has the right only mishum. So and the other scholar, why mishum demela? Because the donkey itself is lost. Because the donkey is lost by itself. But there the barrel of wine is lost to be a dayan. It's through the direct action of its owner. So you would have said that even in the case where the intention of the owner of the wine was unspecified, the owner of the honey must give him the value of the entire barrel of wine. So therefore, it's tummy in both cases. You need to
give to the older side.
Yeah. Rav Kana asked the Shada before Rav, you're the hatz of Allah Shalem Eila Mao. If one descended into the river to rescue another donkey instead of his own, after making this tonight that he would be compensated for the loss of his own donkey, and his own donkey emerged from the river by itself, so what's the halacha? Is the rescuer still entitled to payment from the owner of the donkey that he saved, despite the fact that he did not suffer any loss or not? So Rav said to him, the rescuer is still compensated because it was from heaven that Hashem has bestowed upon him. And he had good mazel. It didn't affect his, just because he had good mazel, it shouldn't affect his tonight. This is like a case where Safra was traveling in a caravan. So if Safra was traveling in a caravan, a certain lion followed him. Every night the travelers would send one of the donkeys to the lion, and the lion would eat it. When Safra's time arrived to provide the lion with prey, he sent his donkey, but the lion did not eat it. So Safra went and acquired it back, as his donkey became a hefker when he presented it to the lion. So even though Safra did not lose his donkey, he had fulfilled the obligation to provide the lion with the donkey, and it's his mazel that did not affect his obligation with other travelers.
So, in other words, did he have a loss, or did
he Lapayel didn't have a loss, but he's ready to have a loss.
Do they have a what? So have you got it back or not?
He gets it back, yeah, because it's hefker, and now you could be zeichel hefker. The point is that when a person has good mazel, you can't.
Mazel came up, so he got it back. So therefore he doesn't have to pay.
That's the word. He doesn't have to pay.
So there's two ways. We could say the person had mazel that did the melach mazel they achedin, but he was hired so he did his job. It came up.
Okay, so what was the question? Right. So what was the question? Kana asked Rav. He goes and makes a tanai and says, "I want to save your donkey, but you have to compensate me for my donkey." And his donkey will survive. So now the pale from here will come out. Mishmai Nashim will lie. The Eibush had Rachmanas on him, so he's still the guy still has to pay him.
Yeah, but the donkey came up. The donkey was the other person. Came up
the guy who made the tanai and said, "No problem. My donkey will die. I'll save your donkey, but you have to compensate me for my donkey."
That donkey became washed up. Or the donkey from the other person came up.
No, his donkey that was he was ready to kill his donkey now came up. So the Tanai, yeah, Mishmaya, that's the Lashon. Mishmaya the Shimwalai. Okay. Rav raised the shalah before Rabbi Danasi, you're the Hatzav La'itzel, if one descended into the river in order to rescue another donkey instead of his own, and he was not successful, and he did not manage to rescue it. Now, what is the halacha? Does the Tanai still apply to the owner of the donkey he attempted to rescue must compensate him for the loss or not? In other words, when you look at effort, when we look at tachlis. So Amalei, so we said to him, Zusha and this is the question. It's clear that he has the right to collect only his wage. He's not entitled to the value of his own donkey because he wasn't successful. So Esvei Rav raised the shayla to Rabbi from the following brayso. In the case of one who hires a worker, a laborer. To bring cabbage and plum to the ill person. And he went and he found that the patient had already died or recovered. So the halacha is the employer nevertheless gives the worker his entire wage. So what do we see? One is paying for his efforts even if the desired result is not accomplished. So the rescuer's tanai should apply. And one should be obligated to pay another for attempting to salvage his donkey, even if he did not actually succeed in doing so. So he's telling me, dummy, how could he compare it to us? There, in the case of the ill person, the shliach performed his assignment as he delivered the food to the ill person. But here, in the case of the donkey, the shliach did not perform his assignments, and he was unable to rescue the animal from the river. Now, the Gemara discusses the division of expenses amongst travelers in a caravan. In the case of a caravan that was traveling in the desert, and a troop of bandits stood over it in order to attack it and take it over. And what happened? And the members of the caravan agreed to pay ransom to the bandits. They calculate each traveler's contribution according to the amount of money he is carrying. We did not calculate according to the number of souls in the caravan. In other words, the expense is not divided equally amongst travelers. Now, but if they hired a scout who travels in front of them and leads them safely through the desert, so the travelers calculate each one's contribution to paying the scout's wages, even according to the number of souls. They should not differ from the usual minig of donkey drivers who often have set procedures for such tanoim. The donkey drivers are permitted to make a tanai that with regard to anybody whose donkey becomes lost, the caravan will provide them with a different donkey. If the donkey was lost through negligence, in ma'amidin, so then they do not provide them with another donkey. If it was not through negligence, ma'amidin, then we provide it with another donkey. And if the individual's donkey becomes lost, said, Tnuli, give me money instead of the donkey, and I will guard the caravan along with everyone else, and shamelessly we do not listen to him. Furthermore, pshita, it's obvious. Or it says, like, it's not necessary to teach this only in the case where he already has another donkey. So you would say, you would say that he will guard the caravan for his sake. Since he still owns one donkey, he never lost his incentive to guard the caravan, and the other driver should therefore give him the money if he wishes. Therefore, we say, guarding one donkey is different than guarding two donkeys, and the driver will be more likely to guard the caravan properly if they supply him with another donkey. Now the Gemara says another brayso that discusses the division of expenses amongst the group. In the case of a boat that was traveling on the sea, so what happened? This boat was traveling on the sea when a gale arose and threatened to sink it. Now what happened? And the sailors lightened this load by throwing some of the belongings overboard. So the sailors calculate the amount that each must throw out according to the weight, but they do not calculate it according to how much money the item is worth. And they should not differ from the usual custom of the sailors. Yes. And if the number of boats are traveling together, if a number of boats are traveling together, the sailors are permitted to make a t'nai that the shkomisha of the leisin and the nam leisvin achers, that whoever, anyone whose boat was lost, the other will provide him with a different boat. Of the lebekusya, if the boat was lost through negligence, in mamidin, the other sailors do not provide him with another boat. But if it was lost not through negligence, the sailors provide him with another boat. If the boat sailed to a place where the boats do not travel, in mamidin, the sailors do not provide him with a different boat. Isn't it obvious? It's not necessary. Because in the month of Nisan, the boats distance themselves from the shore by one rope length. And because in the month of Nisan, the boats distance themselves by the shore one rope length. And the month of Tishrei, they distance themselves two rope lengths. Because will be aiming Tishrei. And in case the boat was traveling during this and it sailed to the place where the boat sailed during Tishrei, Maldatem, you would say the Vashti Nokal Vazli, lest you say that the sailor is not considered a pshia because he's taking his usual route and traveling as he is accustomed to. Rabbi therefore teaches us that his actions are considered a pshia. It's going beyond. It's also in halacha. You go to a rental car. The guy tells you how many miles are you driving, and you tell whatever. One tells him one maisa, tells him it's 100 miles, and you drive 120. So this is.
The question is more if the analyst.
Right, that's true also.
Or the ocean is higher in distance.
So here is a matter that's just the distance, yeah.
After shallow, the ocean is higher. So I'm going to a rocky area where the thingy gets through.
Right, that's also true.
But that's more on the like it. For the distance, more. How wide the ocean?
Right. It's not about learned on a brayso. The case of a caravan that was traveling in the desert and a troop of bandits stood over it and chapped it. And one of the travelers arose and rescued the caravan from the bandits. He's rescued the property for the common good. each member of the caravan receives back his property. Everybody gets back. Each member of the caravan receives back his property. Now, if he says, I'm going to rescue the property from the bandits for myself, then he has effectively rescued the items for himself, and he is now basically the legal owner of the property. The Gemara says, hey, Shidami, what is the circumstances of this case? If each member of the caravan is able to rescue his property, then I feel the safe and so if everyone is able to rescue his property, then even in the later case, where the rescuer states that he is saving the property for himself, Allah should also be that the possessions are rescued for the common good, as the other members of the caravan were not biyayish or retrieving their property. And if each member of the caravan is unable to rescue his property, they are miyayish for retrieving their property, and they relinquish ownership. So even in the first case, the halacha should also be that the possessions are saved for himself, so that he is the legal owner. Why is there a discrepancy between the halacha of the first case and the halacha of the last case? So we're talking about a case that we're dealing with a caravan whose members are partners and jointly own the property that was confiscated. And in a case that a partner may divide the property without the other partner's consent. So Amar, therefore, he said that he intends to save the property for himself. Amar, he said, Palik. He has this, so therefore, if he said that he intends to save the property for himself, he has dissolved the partnership and divided the property so that he's able to rescue only some of the property. So the property he rescues is his share of the joint property. Omar, if he did not say that he intends to save the property for himself, he has not divided the property, and whatever he rescues is jointly owned by both the shutfun. Rava says a different answer. Here, the Brisa were dealing with laborers who were hired to protect the caravan, and one of these guards saved the traveler's property. And this is like Rav says, a laborer may retract his commitment to his employer even in the middle of the day. The Gemara explains, as long as he did not retract his commitment, he's considered to be under the jurisdiction of the employer, so that anything that he saves automatically belongs to the employer. And when he retracts his commitment, it's for a different reason. He's able to do so. But not servants of servants. So it's permitted for a laborer to conclude his terms whenever he wants. Once he does so, if he saves property that the members of the caravan are unable to rescue, the property belongs to him. Rashi says, discussing a case where the other members of the caravan were able to rescue the property with difficulty. Now, therefore, if he revealed his intention to rescue the property for himself, and the other travelers did not make a mecha, it's clear that they have miyayish of recovering the property. And the rescuer rescued the property, last for himself. If he did not reveal his intention, then the emsa, then it's for the common. We'll stop here.